President of the Ghana Medical Association, Professor Ernest York. Good evening, Prof, and thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, and good evening to your listeners as well.
Good to have you. Prof, first off, paint us a picture of the actual situation when it comes to the impact of galamsey, especially on the health sector.
Yes, thank you once again. We all are aware, casually about the impact, but I think it's worth reminding people exactly what we are talking about. So we are talking about land as a resource, water as a resource, and forest as a resource. These three very vital resources that God has bequeathed to us for our very existence and for our, development is under siege and under attack seriously. And the threat is really existential. Now, over time, having realized that this menace of destroying the environment, has been escalating. As an association, Ghana Medical Association, we've had countless releases of press statements. We've had public lectures. In fact, we've even dedicated a whole annual general conference to illegal mining. Other unions have done the same in their various aspects. We've heard about the coalition of the media against illegal mining. The chiefs, are referring to chiefs who really love this country. Not every, because some of them are into galamsey. Public persons, private persons. Everybody is saying the same thing, that this is getting worse and worse. And the government, it tells us that they've done, taking certain steps which have failed. If you ask them, they say that we are continuing. But the evidence on the ground is that this situation is getting worse by the day. The forests are being depleted. Recently, you heard about a cry from the Ghana Water Company that, water production levels have fallen drastically because of the pollution and the silting of these water resources, by the galamsey operators. Professor Mpede has published, in depth about children who are affected and are getting, bad effects because of the poison with mercury and arsenic. I can't go on and on. So the impact is enormous. Cocoa production, has dwindled over the years. They probably will not admit upfront that it is largely due to the destruction or the replacement of the trees, to do other things, including galamsey. So we cannot look on, and we as associations and as unions in health, we think that the effect of this illegal mining and onto the environment is more health related. Yes, there's a social impact and economic impact, but I think that the health implications, if unchecked, going to be dire and is going to, be an existential threat to this country. That is why we've come together to let the government know, the president, and the whole nation know that we must reverse the trend. We have to take some steps backwards and then regroup and decide where we're going next. But immediately we are saying that let's halt all galamsey activities. They introduced the community mining scheme or whatever. For me and for us, it's an euphemism to perpetuate the illegality because it is unchecked. It's the same ways and practices they do. It's destroying the environment. So let's take a pause and then regroup and look at the direction, you and I, everybody, and suggestions that we can bring on board to change the course that we've embarked on as a nation.
Very well, Prof. You have three demands. Let's take the first one, which you have just mentioned, the call for a total ban on small-scale mining operations with immediate effect. Now, Prof, we have a president who has publicly told us that he was willing to put his presidency on the line to fight galamsey. But here we are, all bearing witness to the level of devastation being caused. How far do you think this demand or this statement that you have issued will go?
Well, we are hoping that it will go far. And indeed, for us to be having this interview today is part of the process. And the effect this statement is having and we're going to have, And recently you've noticed the heightened interest in this negative effect. The government, I hope, will listen this time. The president, yes, put his presidency on the line. But we know the effect that it has rather gotten worse. It suggests that something is not right. We must change course. And to change course is to pause. If you are going forward or to a certain direction and want to change course, you cannot continue the same way. You must stop before you change. And that is what we are calling for. And what we are saying is that we will review the process in a short time and see what the actions have been taken are. If you are not satisfied, we think that it is inimical to the cause for all of us in this country, we will decide on the next steps forward. So we hope that it falls on good ears, and I pray and hope that the president will listen. Look, we are not calling to put his presidency on the line. What we are saying is that he must be committed. He must show commitment, because you see the power, absolute power of this nation resides in him. Yes, sovereignty resides in the people, but power, as it is, as an executive president, wields all the power. So yes, you and I, the chiefs, the clergy, the DCs, and everybody, we all have roles to play. But the president and the presidency, for me and for us, we think that he holds the key to winning this fight.
Prof, this commitment that you are demanding, I'm a bit at a loss, because I'm wondering which commitment is greater than putting your presidency on the line?
Well, commitment is not just words, it's by deed. Okay? It's not just words. I can say that I love you, for life or forever, till death do us part. I'm just saying it. How does it show? It will show through my actions. So we are calling for actions, not just mere words. Yes, they tried. We saw the positive impact that they had on the environment. But somehow, we reverse gear and things are getting out of hand. Mr. President, Ghana, yes, someone, let's reverse gears. Otherwise, there is an existential threat to our lives. Look, now we are reporting mercury far away from the Galamsey site in food. And I can confirm that. Mercury is not biodegradable. It will stay in the body almost forever. And it's getting into plants. You and I will go to Agbogbochi or Malasa to buy food. We'll consume the mercury into us and we'll get kidney failure and mental problems, bad defects. Is that what we want? So our future, my children, your children, will blame us. They will pull dagger on us that you failed us. And why did you fail? So it is time for all of us to come together and say, let's protect our future, let's protect our children's future, and let's protect this nation. That is why we are making this call.
Prof, we've read and heard reports, stories on the impact of illegal mining on the health sector directly, cases of cleft and, deformities in babies and all. Has the association or the sector been able to gather some data that points directly to the impact of Galamsey? Is there data that links directly these deformities or diseases with the Galamsey issue?
Well, as an association, bona fide data we don't have, but some of our members with their affiliation to certain institutions or by their own have done a lot of research, and we all know what Prof. Sampene did. He's a member of the Ghana Medical Association. He's published widely on this, and there are many publications out there from our members which point irrefutably the negative impact of Galamsey on the environment, on the human, on everything. And it's an existential threat, so we shouldn't wait. It is indisputable. Indeed, the Ghana Water Company itself was crying last week. Cocoa board, dwindling cocoa production. You see the environment, devastated, water polluted. It's becoming, milky. World Health Organization, CDC. There's publication that there's enough evidence to suggest that this is really devastating us. And we shouldn't, major in semantics and say that show as the evidence. I'm not talking about you, but we all know, let's not pretend to be ostriches. Let's bite the bullet and take the decisive action so that the unborn generation said, yes, you did wrong in the past, but having realized your mistakes, you took action, and this action is what has saved us. All Ghanaians must rise. And this is the time. We cannot look on. We can't sit and sit passive again. And I'm one of them. We need your commitment everywhere you are, media men, ordinary people, civil society, the clergy, the district assembly, everybody, let's come on board and let's support our president and presidency, the government, to stop this menace. Otherwise, our future is doomed.
Very well. Prof, one of your demands is for the political parties to make public declarations on how they are going to address this matter. But you would agree with me that we're in a political season, an electioneering season, and so all sorts of promises have been made and will be made. How do we demand a true, there was something we can hold onto from these political parties?
That's a good question, and if you refer to our statement, we are asking for them to make public declarations at the first step, and the second step is to provide us with a written document that we can hold them to. We are hoping that they do this, and we are also planning to engage them directly. Indeed, as an association, GMA Medical Association, we've already met the two major parties, and we made this position known to them. We are hoping that they will follow through with what now as a collective unions we are demanding, because you see they can pretend as if it's one party or the other, but we know the history that all of them are complicit. So nobody can claim their high horse, and say that hey, I did better or I did worse. It is not true. All of them are complicit. That is why we are demanding of them, and we hold them to that account. But you see, it is the political parties is just a group, but the greatest power is wielded by the people who own the sovereignty. People's power is a mighty one. You see what happened in Kenya? There was no arms, but the authority, the apartheid, realized that we've wronged these people and let's change course. And this is what we are calling for. And it is possible we can do it as a collective.
Right. Now, it's quite interesting that you mentioned Kenya, because your statement signs off in the last paragraph and says, leadership of our associations, and I'm quoting, leadership of our associations and trade unions will be following keenly how events unfold and would like to state that we cannot guarantee industrial harmony if our demands are not heeded. Prof, in plain words, what does this mean?
In plain words and in simple language, we'll review the situation and take the appropriate measures. You see, like I told you in the past, we issue statements. We had press conferences, public lectures, other general conferences, here and there. It hasn't worked. And we know that something must change. That is why we are taking this step. And I bet you trust me, the rank and file of all these unions and associations are keen in saying this through. And the leadership is also committed and will say this through. Look, are going to show leadership, and mark it we will, on behalf of the people. Because you see, I am a potential patient. I'm a potential victim of this illegality and atrocity, the pillage that is going on. You are a potential victim of that. So you see, we shouldn't rely on anybody. It is you and I. And we are committed to seeing this through. We'll review the situation after a short while. I'm not able to tell you whether a week or two, but certainly it's going to be a short while. And then we'll let Ghanaians know, depending on our view of the situation, what the next steps are going to be.
Prof, thank you so much for your time this evening. We wish you well.
Thank you for having me.